but like the ocean, it gives you peace. So will my program.
To get from you a little bit more, your inspiration.
Governments that are involved, we've been able to form an environmental working group.
An issue of equal opportunities in terms of sharing department on energy, who have invested approximately or given aid.
Perhaps talk about
USAID have given an aid of $1.9 million to this project. Good evening and welcome to A Piece of My Mind. Today we have the opportunity of speaking to Prince Tony Momo. He is a respected journalist, a lawyer, a letter writer, a teacher, and an author. And now, they say a politician as well. He's a former Minister of Information, of Culture, and Tourism. I would now like to say good evening, Prince Tony Momo.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to A Piece of My Mind.
Thank you.
When we were looking for someone to talk to who could talk on all the things that we wanted to know about Nigeria, because we looked at Nigeria and we think, can it collapse? Can something go wrong? And we stumbled upon so much research data on so much you've written on this particular topic, which is, can our country, Nigeria as we know it, remain the same even in the next 5 years?
Why not in the next 50 years?
Okay.
Actually, Nigeria does not just have a future, it has a mission. And that mission is going to be accomplished within the next 25 years. And there's no way that mission can be accomplished without Nigeria being together. So since that mission is going to be accomplished, then Nigeria must be together. It's as simple as that.
How do you see us staying together? Because, you know, when you switch on the news at any particular point, you hear so much and you begin to get frightened as a Nigerian. How are we going to stay together, you know? How?
You go to the markets, more than 1,500 markets in Lagos. They are booming. You go to Onitsha market, it's booming. You go anywhere in the country. Those who are fishing are fishing. Those who are in the farms are in the farms. Nigeria has about 97,000 communities. And these communities are vibrant and active. And more than 60% of the land mass in Nigeria, and even the population, belong in rural areas. And these areas don't even know there's any activity going on. So a great deal of what you see happening is what is right there in the newspapers, on radio, on television. And what is news? I define news as a report of the disturbance of the routine. So when people go to the National Assembly every day, they start in the morning and finish in the evening, there's no news. But when someone carries a mace and lands it on the head of someone, then the routine of coming to work and walking and going is broken by the use of the mace on the head of one of the lawmakers. And then there is, when that is reported, you say it's news. So Masob, OPC, and others, when they are active, are only disturbing the routine of peace in Nigeria. And like all other places, the way you see things being done, things happening on radio, on television, even in Iraq, you would think that the whole of Iraq is on fire.
Yes,
but lots of things are happening in Iraq on a daily basis. People go to work, people are busy in schools, in mosques, all over. But the suicide bombers do their bombing, and that is reported, and one gives the impression that all of Iraq is on fire. Yeah. So it is in journalism where you report a disturbance of the routine. I said Nigeria is constituted by about 97,000 communities.
Yes.
And, before Beecroft came in 1849 to be the consul, British consul in the Bight of Benin and the Bight of Biafra, these people were there, Nigerians were there. There were the Hausa states long before the British came. Then the Osman Danfodio Empire, you know, the Sokoto Caliphate came long before the British was there, long before the British came. The Benin Empire stretched to Ghana. It was there long before the British came. In the 15th century, the Oba of Benin even had a diplomat in Portugal, when Portugal was a world power. So these Nigerians have been there, their communities have been there, and then you can say that every Nigeria grows from the soil because there is a place in Nigeria we have to rush to. In Lagos, for instance, on Sundays, you have lots of people meeting. They are from different communities in Nigeria, and they work to make their community, to work for improvements of their community. If anybody drops there today, they collect money and take the body home.
Yes.
Because one day, someone is going to say, you want something in this area, where is the grave of your father? So Nigerians grew from the soil, and they be together long before political, administration came. So this coming together was there that preceded British presence. And you cannot just break it overnight. So this team up of Nigeria right from the south to the north through trade, it's not something you can break overnight. So Nigeria is grounded in the soil on terra firma, and it's not going to be uprooted, just like other areas where you have it's all strangers. In the United States, there are no native as such. If you spend about a year in a particular environment, you are a native. You have all the rights. In Nigeria, you do not have any rights outside your own area. The only state in the Federation that had a law to provide for natives being non-natives being natives was Plateau State. And they say if you have stayed in Plateau State for 30 years, you can enjoy all the rights in Plateau State.
Why is that?
Well, that was by law. But the fact is, the Hausa Fulani that have been there for 400 years, when like Kumbadewe will say they came to become, the place exploded, and they were telling them you are not natives. And they have been there for 400 years. So in Nigeria, you belong in the soil, and you cannot be driven outside your area. So this cementing force to the soil is one thing that will not make Nigeria break up. You see, we can have our political differences. At the end of the day, you will discover that in the larger picture, Nigeria will remain. And in any case, if Nigeria breaks up, where are the people going to run to? Nigeria accounts for more than half of the population of the ECOWAS sub-region of 16 countries. More than half of the population, about 170 million. And Nigeria accounts for about 140 million. Where are the people going to run to? So at the end of the day, when the politicians cause the trouble and politicians manage their schemings, they will know that this country belongs to all of us. There's nowhere you can run to. You must stay and develop it.
But do you think that the third term agenda is real?
There's nothing wrong with proposing that you have 2 terms of 4 years, or 1 term of 5 years, or 3 terms of 4 years. As you like, it's a proposal. The only thing is for those who don't want it to have it defeated. And I think a majority of Nigerians don't want it. But the hearings that took place the other day were circus shows. They were circus shows, and the ruling party, just organized those shows to ensure that those who are interested in the third term have the day. But the fact is that Nigerians don't really want any so-called third term because the stakes are high. Politics in Nigeria is a business. I don't understand where a policeman in Nigeria takes home 8,000 naira a month, and inspector of police takes home about 50,000 naira a month. And the money comes from what you call the federation account. Then a councillor who has a school certificate or its equivalent and was jobless March 2004 and became a councillor 2004. I went home the other day and the man is riding a jeep. He takes home a minimum of 200,000 naira a month. The money that is brought to the local government area is routinely shared. And the money comes from the federation account. So you need a restructuring where, for instance, the salary of the policeman and the salary of the councillor should have some way of relating or balancing so that you don't take more from the federation account and give to someone who is unproductive. A councillor takes home more money than a judge of a state high court. It doesn't make sense. You know, a councillor should be part-time. It takes 2,000 naira sitting allowance, not more than 6 times a year, not more than 12,000 naira per annum.
Yeah.
And then you'll be talking of justice. But the Nigerian political, scenario is politics is a business in Nigeria, and they do it like a business.
And so you invest.
So you invest, you sell houses to be able to get political posts. So at this level of the president, you see, there's what I call segmented loyalty. You know, if, for instance, you are in a family, your family versus another family, you will fight. Both families belong in a compound. The compound will find another compound. Both compounds belong in a village. The village will fight another village. You know, the clan will fight another clan. The senatorial district will fight another senatorial district. The state will fight another state. The zone will fight another zone. Then the south will fight the north. The north will fight the south. The north wants the presidency to return after 8 years in the south. And I can assure you, the stakes are too high for someone to abandon it in the name of third term. These are the stakes. So at the end of the day, you will discover that the cost of sustaining third term in the south, in one man for 3 years or another 12 years, is not something the north will want to swallow, especially when politics in Nigeria is a business. Yeah. But let me tell you, this so-called third term agenda is not a Nigerian affair. It's a People's Democratic Party affair. And the People's Democratic Party, which is the ruling party, does not even need any hearing before they can change the constitution under section 9 of the constitution and then do what they want to do. But the repercussions, yes, the repercussions are such that they dare not. You know, they dare not. You need 2/3 of the majority of the members of the House, 360 in the House of Representatives, and then about 76 in the Senate, and then 24 state assemblies to say yes. So you can even change the constitution within 10 minutes. First, second, third reading, say yeah. And then you change the constitution and want to do what you want to do about third term. But how do you enforce it? What we have been having in Nigeria, where, for instance, the person in control of the electoral process can write up results. All these are things which have a lifespan. You know, at the end of the day, they won't work. So Nigeria does not just have a future. Nigeria has a mission. And anybody who wants to frustrate that mission is only digging his grave. And that's the truth.
There's a rebellion from the youths of the Delta, because I call what is going on not a rebellion. It's a passionate plea, but in a very militant way, because I think they have stood for so long on the curve. How do you see all that panning out? I suppose that they will come eventually to dialogue, or we hope they will eventually come to dialogue. Do you feel that there's any other way, or do you feel that that is also politically being motivated?
No, I think it's unless you really are in heat, you don't know the effect of heat. When someone tells you about the Sahara Desert, about heat, you are in an air-conditioned room. You won't know anything until they just land you in the Sahara Desert. What is happening in the Niger Delta, people outside the Niger Delta cannot appreciate it unless they get there. As editor of Spear magazine, I published pictures in the 60s of the beautiful young maidens in the Niger Delta, light complexioned, diving into the river, coming out and being dark and black because of pollution. And we'll be calling attention to this since the 60s. Nobody's listening. Nobody has been listening. And the fact is that there is no government in Nigeria that can resolve the Niger Delta problem without being peaceful, doing so. Okay, look at the debt question. $6 billion we are handing over to the Paris Club.
Yeah.
And another $6 billion to them so that they will focus on $30 billion debt. And the most indebted country in the whole world. 3 generations of Americans cannot pay the debt of America. But everybody wants to lend to America. Because America has created the environment where there's a pull. America is a magnet. You know, pulling people into America. Why are we creating a situation where we are a repellent, repelling people from coming to Nigeria? No light, no jobs, the schools are not operating. Everything is just in decay. And instead of building these infrastructures with the few resources we have, we are talking about paying a debt, which can be forgiven. Now, with $6 billion, I say mobilize Nigeria's senatorial district lines, 109 senatorial districts. At the exchange rate of 135 naira to the dollar, you have 7.5 billion naira per senatorial district. Outside statutory allocations. Pull it into an escrow and then spend 500 million naira a year with the leaders of thought in the senatorial district having this money spent, identifying the competencies of the area, and having cottage industries. In 15 years, spending 500 million naira every year in a senatorial district, you will have, within 5 years, all the senatorial districts in Nigeria working like Asia. And you can sustain debt servicing of 200 billion naira, $200 billion. Why are you giving out $6 billion or $12 billion away? You say you want to pay debts. Instead of empowering the people with this $6 billion, that is my own idea. I don't see how anybody running a factory can start giving away the money it should use in developing the factory to the bank so that it doesn't owe and the factory collapses.
There's just one thing that I always wonder. Why can we not have light all the time, which is just a basic necessity of life, which will enhance business, which will enhance the life of Nigerians? Because half the time there is no light. We're always in darkness.
Now, for instance, and we have been flaring gas.
Yes.
For instance, that gas, if it had been utilized for light, even since the 60s, the petroleum, the money we earn from petroleum will just be pocket money. What have we been doing? Nothing. So a great deal of the time, the governments have just been there doing business. For instance, it really beats me that to be a lawyer, you have to read law. To be a journalist, you have to have an HND and be a graduate. To be a banker, you have to have qualification in banking. But the only qualification you need to be a president of Nigeria or a governor is school certificate. Then you have age qualification. Then you are not declared mentally insane. You know, then of course, you may not have gone to prison. So these are the only qualifications you need to occupy the highest office in Nigeria. Where do you have the scope? How do you widen your horizon? It doesn't just make sense to me. And in any case, we have not even evolved a culture of governance. And the area that has evolved a culture of governance, the traditional institutions, we marginalize them. So as long as we do not attend to governance as a way of uplifting people, as the medium to uplift a people, we are not going to get going.
Yeah, but I mean, when you keep talking about governance, all we read about in foreign papers are some of our serving governors having beautiful houses, beautiful hospitals, all over everywhere else, but not at home. Not at home, because, you know, it was amazing when I was in South Africa about 4 months ago, reading in the paper about a hospital being owned by one of our governors. But in that state, there's no generator in the national hospital of the country.
Very good. That's what I'm saying. For instance, how do you have a person who has no background being a governor because maybe through drug money, he acquired money, wealth, or he has a godfather? You see, the executive arm of government is the most undemocratic in the Nigerian system. Only the governor is elected. Because we have now discovered that the deputy governor can be handpicked, although he's a running mate of the governor. All others, the commissioners, who are in charge of money pots, they came there because they were compensated for losing primaries. You know, if you stand nomination and you lose, the person who is elected to the House of Assembly goes to the House of Assembly. He had no access to funds. Then the person who lost is nominated by a godfather and he becomes a commissioner and is in charge of a particular ministry, and then collects a lot of money and gives money to the godfather or the person is loyal to, not to the people. In fact, he has every reason to hate the people who did not even vote for him. You know, that is the Nigerian system. It must change.
What do you propose as a change and a way forward? Because we've talked about the problems. I think we all know, or we all begin to understand what the problems are. Although I've always said that one of the key things living abroad for me was the ability to go and vote. But once I was talking about that, somebody told me that your vote doesn't count in Nigeria.
Yes.
You know.
The vote in Nigeria doesn't count because maybe by the time you are voting, they had already written up the results. Or after voting, someone has come to snatch the ballot box. I was in the field during the elections, and someone came to me and said, I want employment. He said, as what? He said, I'm a box snatcher. I said, I don't want box snatchers. Then about 3 p.m. after voting, someone came to me and said, the boxes of your candidates have been snatched.
And you knew the box snatcher.
So they snatch your boxes or write up the results. I mean, this is not healthy for a democracy, and this must change. But more in need of change is the structure. For instance, we are not ripe for the presidential system we are running, where everybody is full-time. The president is full-time. All the ministers are full-time. The National Assembly people are full-time. The governor is full-time. All the commissioners are full-time. House of Assembly people are full-time. The chairman is full-time. All his supervisory commission, councillors are full-time. The councillors are full-time. How can you have that? In the First Republic, only the prime minister and the ministers are full-time. We're full-time. Why can't we have that? The governor and the commissioners should be full-time. And the governor should be a member of the House. And then the party with the majority should provide the governor or whoever, whatever you want to call it. Just like we had in the First Republic. Awolowo was the premier of Western Region. He was elected from Ikenne. Zik was a premier. Ahmadu Bello was the premier. Osadebe was the premier. They picked their own commissioners from the House of Assembly, elected people. Only those were full-time. All others were part-time. You come and do the work and go back to your job. But what we are doing now is that everybody is full-time. And then they use the opportunity they have, full-time people, to oil the jobs which they do. Also, outside the assembly, full-time. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So we are just pampering the political class and then making them full-time lawmakers, full-time everything, and then you cannot even see what they are producing. And all that is happening, you are paying them heavy allowances. You know, more allowances. A councillor has the allowances of a director in the federal ministry. And a director in the federal ministry becomes a director after being a professional for about 20 years. It doesn't make sense. The money comes from the same account, federation account. This is what I'm saying doesn't make sense. So we should restructure this country and go in for the parliamentary system. The presidential system is too expensive and cannot be accommodated in relation to our earnings. 92% of our earnings in 2002 went for the current. Only 8% went for, capital projects. How do you have light? How do you have schools? How do you have hospitals? How do you have jobs? When 92% is going to nourish the insatiable tastes of less than 2% of the population, it doesn't make sense.
What would you say to the average Nigerian youth or young person or anybody right now to make them believe that this country is going to remain one and that we have a future as Nigeria?
Now, Nigeria does not just have a future, it has a mission. And the human persons being downloaded in Nigeria today, because everybody is a stranger on earth, the human person being downloaded on Nigeria today is the one who is going to fulfill the mission. And you cannot fulfill that mission by sitting down, folding your hands, and saying, no, I'm not going to be interested in what's happening out there. What is happening out there is there on the political arena. And in that politics, the vote counts. Now that the vote is by and large stolen, everybody must ensure that when they cast their vote, they ensure the vote is counted and that the vote counts. If your vote is not counted and your vote does not count, then of course you know that you are being robbed, and you will have to be part and parcel of the agitation for ensuring that no future denial occurs in ensuring that your own vote that you have cast counts and is counted. So 2007 is coming. Nobody should allow their vote to be taken over. Nobody should allow their vote cast not to be counted. Nobody should allow any box snatching. You ensure that when you vote, you sit down there. When anybody wants to snatch your box, you protect that box. The vote is counted. You take your results and ensure that the collation is done at the appropriate place and results are declared, and you have your copies of results. What has been happening in the past is a bad dream. We should regard it as a bad dream. We should never allow it again, because the military coming is no solution. The military is always there to set the hands of the clock back. And the long period of military rule in Nigeria has been a long period of a state of emergency. There is no due process. But if civilians come and want to entrench a process that is not due process, is equivalent to the military. And they should be tackled to ensure that democracy, which is the choice of man today, sustains. As it does in the United States, it does in France, in England, even in Eastern Europe now, that it does happen in Nigeria. In lots of parts of Africa, democracy works. Why cannot not work in Nigeria? Nigeria has the largest population, concentration of black people on earth. Every fourth person in Africa is a Nigerian. Every fifth person in the world is a Nigerian. And this is the largest concentration of black people on earth. Why can't we be a pride to the black race? So, the chore is yours, and we must ensure we make the black person proud.
The votes are coming. We must count. Nigeria owes it to everybody. We as Nigerians owe it to ourselves to make sure we vote, and also to make our vote count. Don't just vote and walk away. Make sure that your vote counts so that a vote snatcher doesn't come and take your box away.